Welcome back, everybody, to day two. I would like to reintroduce you all for those of you who have just come on in. This is Brandon Smithwrick. He is the head of content over at Kickstarter. He's also a very recent Forbes Under 30 placement. So huge congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And I think a big part of that is not only, of course, you are a genius in your creative work, but also he did something that a lot of us kind of cringe and put off, and that is putting yourself out there, sharing your thoughts with the world and your insights online. And from that, he has grown an incredible platform on LinkedIn, an amazing community on Instagram, and he shares this incredible collective of co-creative souls, and he's built a wonderful community. And from that, he has been recognized also for his creative efforts, and that has turned into Forbes Under 30, as well as, I'm sure, a number of amazing opportunities that are coming up for you. So, Brandon, the stage is yours.
I appreciate that. I need to add that to my bio. That was so good. Hey
All right,
everyone.
look at it.
No, that was good. That was really strong. Um, I see Brooklyn's here. I'm looking at where everyone's Toronto, Philly, everyone just some aka Wakanda. I love that. Hey everyone. I'm really excited to chat. I'm got Queens. Okay, a lot of New Yorkers. I love it. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Give me a thumbs up in the chat just to make sure everyone can see it. Right, all good. Put a fire emoji. Dope. Um, Personal branding. So as I was kind of building this presentation, I came up with this thought, posted it, and I was like, you know what? It works nowhere within this deck. So I wanted to put it at the top, maybe to just like ground us in the mindset of this conversation that I want to have with you all today. Um, the most important brand you will ever market or work on is yours. You are the most important brand. I know a lot of times, and there's probably a mix of people here, whether you work for someone, you're a 9-to-5er, or you have your own business and you're an entrepreneur or solopreneur. I really think that sometimes we invest our time in other ventures and our jobs, but we don't really focus on ourselves. I forgot to mention, I have two screens. So if I'm looking here, I'm looking at you. Don't worry. I'm just going back and forth. But I'm super excited to chat. So I want to talk about the power of a personal brand, how to develop a personal brand framework, and tips for automating your personal brand for growth. I mean, Danielle really just did it in terms of the intro, but I kind of want to paint a picture on like, who is this person speaking to you? My name is Brandon Smithwrick. I'm a New York-based content marketer. I'm head of content at Kickstarter. I used to work for companies like Ralph Lauren and Squarespace, and I'll touch on that a little bit later. I'm a creator, like Danielle mentioned. Started literally like a year and change ago on LinkedIn, and it just blew up. From there, I've done content creation on TikTok and Instagram. I've done like the UGC content creator route where you don't see my content, but I give it to a brand and they post it and use it. Last month, I received Forbes 30 under 30 for my creative efforts in marketing. That was a huge accomplishment. That was a goal. And personal brand played a key pivotal role in that. And I've also been fortunate enough to partner with a myriad of brands. My path is a little bit untraditional. I came from fashion. So I work with a lot of lifestyle and fashion brands. And then as I enter the tech world, I work with a lot of business brands. But truly that is a direct result of building a strong personal brand. So with that, let's talk about the power of a personal brand. Get your notes out. I might go fast. I'm going to try and see if we can leave time for questions at the end. But just get ready. This is the part in presentations where people usually define what a personal brand is. You are all intelligent. You have access to Google, you have access to a dictionary. I'm not going to bore you with the definition of a personal brand. So when I was in college, that's when I started building my personal brand. And at that time, I didn't know what I was really doing. I didn't know even the efforts I was doing was creating a personal brand. But this is the thing that I kind of thought about. So in college, right, you're looking around, there's hundreds of us about to graduate and enter the workforce at the same time, competing for the same jobs, same roles, same companies. And that's just at your school, right? Look at it on a global scale, national scale, thousands. So I started thinking, what's going to help me stand out? Why would a company want me versus someone else? Um, so this is just what I thought about. When someone thinks of blank, I want them to think of me. That was really my lens on why I started building my personal brand. When someone thinks of blank, I want them to think of me. Hold on to that. We're going to revisit it, but personal brand is really about establishing and promoting your skills, your expertise, your values, and using that to build credibility, to build trust, to also differentiate yourself from the competition. So all these things are super important, but I want to talk about the benefits of a personal brand. And let's say there's some 9-to-5ers in here. I still have a 9-to-5. I'm head of content at Kickstarter, and even balancing my own personal brand creator journey with a full-time role is not easy at all. But I definitely think there's been so many benefits from it. So when you establish a personal brand as a 9-to-5er, you are able to spend less time seeking jobs and more time being sought after. Why do you say that? So all the jobs I mentioned, Squarespace, Ralph Lauren, even Kickstarter, I actually didn't apply for any of these roles. They sought me out on LinkedIn because I focused on talking about the things I did and speaking about, my thoughts on social media, which I was working at the time. And a lot of times we apply to roles and our resume just goes into this pool of thousands of others, some qualified, some unqualified. And it's really hard to get noticed when you're just like a paper in the sea of millions. So when recruiters are looking on primarily LinkedIn, I thought, you know what, I need to stand out to them. That way they reach out to me. It gives you a competitive edge, especially in this landscape. I think right now we are seeing the toughest job market. And I think having a personal brand not only helps you, but it also kind of future-proofs you. Because what I've seen in the landscape of tech is there is no more job security, if even there was one to begin with, I guess. Um, I know people who worked at Google for like 12 years, people who worked at Squarespace for 10 years. And when budgets are, cut down, some people were let go after their years of dedication. And that just confirmed to me that kind of post I put at the top of this presentation. I'm the most important brand. I dedicate all my time and resources over here. What am I doing to build myself up? What am I doing to help myself? You position yourself as a thought leader in your industry. And lastly, it does open up new doors. It prepares you for, let's say you want to do consulting down the line. If you want to do speaking engagements, if you want to start advising, having a personal brand will enable you to kind of make those pivots in an easier manner. Now, if you are an entrepreneur, it will increase the visibility of your entrepreneurial ventures and your business. I think a lot of people do a lot of things on social media, and we're going to have a heavy focus on social media today because that's where I kind of, grew up, if I say. But creator accounts get a lot more visibility than business accounts, right? Platforms love creators. Creators drive the platform. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, doesn't matter. Creators get the best features, then business accounts. So if we think about it like that, if I have my own business, sure, I want most of my branding and product releases and new features or new openings, whatever it is, to be on my business account. But how is my personal brand being a discovery point for my business? And that's kind of like a framework you can also use. It provides you with increased networking opportunities. That speaks for itself. When you have a personal brand, people want to, hey, I have this venture going on. Let's talk about it. You get to actually just meet more people in your industry and in your field. And it feels like, this weight of pushing my entrepreneurial venture is a little bit easier to push. And lastly, it helps establish credibility and trust. That means new clients, new customers, new opportunities. Google yourself. Honestly, we've all done it. No shame, right? When you Google yourself, that is your personal brand. If you don't establish your personal brand, Google will do it for you. So investing in your personal brand is ultimately reputation management. I'm going to make sure when someone Googles me, articles are going to come up, podcasts are going to come up. I want maybe products I'm pushing to come up, different ventures. I don't want my Instagram to be the first thing that comes up. And then whether it's an employer or brand, that they're seeing your social media presence. And the truth is, we all have a personal brand, whether we choose to invest in it or not. If you're always late, that's your brand. If you know the best spots around New York, that's your brand. If you post the best fashion content, that's your brand. We all have a brand. It's just more so, how am I making sure that I'm going to invest differently in my personal brand? That way I can not only monetize it, but then leverage it for new opportunities. Now, if we're talking about personal branding, I think it's also important to talk about what personal branding is not. Personal branding is not, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, look what I'm doing. This is cool, right? Social media is all about the wins. And not saying you don't want to share your wins, but building up a personal brand is about providing value. It's about providing insight. It's about sharing your expertise. It's not just, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, look at me, because it will come off inauthentic. And that's the second point. Personal branding is not inauthentic or mimicking others. There's a lot of just like content copying sometimes. You have a unique point of view. And I really think that we underestimate our own value sometimes. Investing in your personal brand is not a one-time effort. That's, if you could take anything, write it down, circle it, underline, whatever. It's not a one-time effort. Consistency will beat out the competition every single day. And lastly, it's not necessarily being an influencer. I say not necessarily because there are some commonalities, surely. You may post content, you may have a series, you may be doing things from a brand partnership lens. But if you say, you know what, I want to build a personal brand, I don't want to be an influencer, by no means am I trying to say you got to be an influencer. You could be very knowledgeable within the culinary space and be like, cool, I may make some content about my business or this or that, but I'm not trying to go like the influencer creator route, and that's totally okay. So for anyone today who might be on the fence about your personal brand, I saw this article 2 years ago, completely shook me because more CMOs are investing in their personal brands than ever before. And I paused and thought, if someone in a C-suite, which most of us would deem successful, most of us would deem they made it. Like that's a huge accomplishment. Why are they investing in their personal brands at that high level? And I'm not. And I haven't even made it to that level. But then when that article went on, it went on to speak about some of the CMOs who hesitate to start a personal brand. What are some of their kind of withdrawals? And when I was looking at this, I was like, oh, they're people. They struggle with the same thing we all do: insufficient time. They're too busy with other aspects of their job or life, conflict of interest. Many felt that a personal brand might interrupt or kind of detract from everything else they're doing. Focusing on their own brand, they maybe felt obligated to focus their time here versus like building up themselves, or just not sure how or when to start, where to start. The thought of adding something else to your plate at times can feel very overwhelming. And I'm going to try my best today to break down maybe some easy tips, some guidance to build a framework on how to make it a little bit less scary. So with that, this is where it's like be a little activity. Let's talk about how you develop a personal brand framework. You can't do anything without a goal. I'm a big believer in that, and nothing happens by chance, and neither will building your personal brand. So first, we have our goal, which is the purpose. We have our tactic, which is the plan, and then we're going to execute, which is the process. If you're a note taker, write these down. I'm going to try and just touch on each of them. And if there's any questions at the end, feel free. Your goal. Your goal serves as your North Star. You use this as a filter and you make sure that every single decision you make aligns to that goal. Once you have a goal, everything becomes clear. What is your goal? Let's say your goal is marketing related. I want to increase the visibility of my social channels and content. Let's say your goals are growth related. I want to drive awareness for my business. Let's say it's professional. I want to take my career into my own hands and elevate myself. It could be partnership based. I want to partner with brands that align with my purpose. It could be leadership focused. I want to provide value to those who need it the most. Whatever your goal is, you then figure out, all right, does this action make sense with this goal? If my goal is to save more money, but my habits show DoorDash knows me by my first name, then my actions aren't corresponding with my goal. And that's basically how, I look at everything. Now, notice one thing about this slide. Money is not listed. And not saying money is not important. This whole in her bag, right? I want y'all to get your bag. I'm not saying money's not important. What I'm saying is money is an outcome. It's not a goal. Money is an outcome because when I drive awareness for my business, everyone loves a good product. It's going to sell itself. Let me focus on this goal, and then the outcome of this will be financial gain. Let's say it's professional. I'm going to focus on my craft, branding myself, and increasing my knowledge. Oh, okay. Then when I get these job opportunities, those pay leaps, that's where you make your money. That's the outcome. But if you're taking notes, money is the outcome. Money's not the goal. So let's revisit that thing I mentioned back in college, right? And this is like the easiest thing for me. When someone thinks of blank, I want them to think of me. What is that for you? When someone thinks of blank, I want them to think of me. Write it in the chat. Wealth and wellness. Oh, I love it. When someone thinks of blank, I want them to think of me. Now, please note, this does not mean we can't be multifaceted. We are people who have many interests, many desires. We're multifaceted, and that's okay. So it doesn't mean you cannot change your direction. It doesn't mean that you can't pivot down the line. It doesn't mean you can't have maybe various interests, but figure out what this core pillar is and how everything will ladder back into that. It's much easier to steer a moving ship than a stationary one. This goes back to that point about pivoting. Versus be 20 yards behind and then say, you know what, I want to be about wealth and wellness. If I just start now branding myself, and let's say down the line, I realize, you know what, I want to expand upon wellness. It would be a lot easier to turn in that direction than to try and start from scratch all the way back there, right? So we are multifaceted, but pivoting is a lot easier when you already have a brand. I'm going to use myself as an example here. So, like I said, I studied fashion in school. I was a fashion merchandising major. 5 years of my career was all about fashion. I worked for a fashion startup that did men's sneakers. I was styling photo shoots. I was making content. Back in college, I interned. I did the whole New York Fashion Week thing. When I worked at Ralph Lauren, I was like, oh, fashion boy, right? That was like my brand. So my whole thing was when people think about men's fashion marketing, I want them to think of me. Eventually, I realized, you know what? I love fashion, but I don't got to be involved in this world. And it didn't serve me anymore. So I made a pivot into tech. I focused on still honing my skills within marketing. But then I realized that today, I'm more fulfilled by when someone thinks about content marketing guidance, I want them to think of me. And that's okay. Again, you can change your mind. You are allowed to revisit this statement year by year by year. When someone thinks of blank, I want them to think of me. Last year it was this year is going to be this. Um, but it's just so impactful to kind of allow yourself the grace and freedom to change your mind. Now, let's go a little bit deeper. Once you have whatever that blank is, now figure out what are 3 to 5 pieces, topics. Don't get caught up on the content word. Maybe let me choose 3 to 5 topics I want to speak to. Let me create or choose 3 to 5 topics I want to be known for. Some of you, it might be content. What are 3 to 5 topics I want to create content around? What is that? And let me kind of show you an example. Vivian, Vivian too, your rich BFF. I love her. She has a strong personal brand, right? When you think about finance, you think about her. But look at her topics. I speak about financial literacy. I speak about credit cards. I speak about tips for saving money. I speak about tax law. I speak about investing. They all ladder up to her main goal, which is about to be that finance creator. But it's a pro tip. Don't over index on one topic, right? Content diversity is key. Why do you say that, right? Let's say I love speaking about investing. So I do like 5 social media posts about investing and then 1 post about saving money. And then like another 6 about investing and then 1 about credit cards. I am not only training my audience to see me as one thing, I'm also training these algorithms to favor one piece of content versus another. So when I'm trying to do this whole push around financial literacy, either I have conditioned my audience to be unaccepting of this content, or I've conditioned these algorithms to not expect this content. You don't want to over index. You want to make sure that, all right, Monday I'm going to do this, Tuesday I'm going to do this, Wednesday's this. Maybe it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 5, 4. Like you figure out what that is for you, but just make sure that you're switching it up. Also laddering back to your main topic, but I'm hitting them with different kind of aspects. I'm gonna use myself as an example here also. Marketing creator. I speak about content marketing, which is like social media and blogs. I speak about personal branding, which is marketing yourself. I speak about entrepreneurship. I speak about creator marketing. I speak on career development. Now, the benefit of this is there are some moments when social media and the content I've made there has enabled me to work with social media brands. There's others when I've done a lot of career development content, and that's enabled me to work with career development brands. So it also opens up doors in different lanes, and it creates opportunities for you that maybe you wouldn't have expected if you just went one route. But I will say this from experience. There's times when we favor, let's say, one aspect versus another, and that other aspect may enable you to do the thing you love. I'm going to use an outlandish example here, but I think about Calvin Klein, right? All these big brands have so much like apparel, they have collections, they have all this. Calvin Klein makes the most money from underwear. That underwear lets them do all the cool stuff. Ralph Lauren, they have stores everywhere. It's immaculate. They have luxury collections. Their factory stores actually let them do all the cool stuff. So I don't get tripped up on, you know what, I want to do this so bad. This needs to be it. This needs to be it. Sometimes something else that you did not expect will allow you to do everything you want. I also think it's important to define what you don't speak on. I am not the performance marketing marketer. Don't ask me about ads. I don't run Facebook ads. I don't spend budget, nothing about it, right? I'm not the AI expert. I know I use ChatGPT here and there, but I don't ask me about any of this. I don't speak on it. And it's okay. I don't have to be everything, and neither do you. You don't have to feel like I need to speak about everything. I need to be everywhere. It's not necessary. We spread ourselves way too thin as it is. So the same way you are defining those 3 to 5 topics about what you're going to be known for, what you're going to speak on, or what you're going to make content about, just like jot down, but I'm also not going to do this. Sip of water, real quick. Okay. Number 2, the tactic. Now we're going to define where you show up. So you can build a personal brand on any channel. And thinking we must be active, must is the key word there, on a certain channel often limits our success. I think, years ago, we thought if I'm not doing this on IG, if I'm not winning on IG, then it ain't gonna happen. TikTok came around and people who had 3,000 followers on Instagram had 100,000 on TikTok. But if I was focused so much on I need to be here, I would have missed that opportunity over there. There's a common misconception. Yes, TikTok, Instagram is all cool, but you don't have to appease one channel over another. You just gotta find what works for you. If you're like, you know what, I love making YouTube videos about financial literacy, I'm gonna focus on long form YouTube videos because finance is tough. And versus give people half information, I want to go in depth. That's your bread and butter. That's your lane. Sure, you could have different cut downs on other channels, but ultimately you want to drive them to one location, and that's totally okay. Personally, right? I never thought LinkedIn would pop off. I said for 90 days, let me just post twice a week. Let me just stop playing around over here, right? That ROI of LinkedIn is like 10x everything else in my life, if I'm being honest with you. And if you know me, I'm going to talk about LinkedIn. I got a couple slides in here, so be prepared. But I do think there's so much benefit to even taking a step back and figuring out, what are the channels that I can do? Maybe I want a newsletter. Maybe I want a podcast. Maybe I want an in-person kind of mentorship or gathering. Maybe I want to do Instagram. It's a lot. One of those things might give you like 80% of the results. The others might give you 20%. Figure out what's just worth your time and investment. And it's a beautiful cycle. I would be remiss, like I said, if I didn't just like plug LinkedIn and the benefits, because I do think it's highly slept on. And I do think there's still so much opportunity there, especially for business owners, entrepreneurs, career seekers. And I'm pretty sure the makeup of this audience is pretty much that. LinkedIn is a professional playground. People think it got to be very serious. People are serious about their careers, but it's also a place where people are they're sharing knowledge. They are looking for jobs, but it's not just a job seeking, site. It's not like monster.com. You can really network with people you would have never encountered. And if you are a business owner or you're an entrepreneur, I would just double click onto this. I think there's a huge opportunity here to see growth in your business. If you have a brick and mortar or you have a digital product and you're able to use LinkedIn as a way to talk about your success, or use LinkedIn to talk about maybe a story of how you helped a customer, you will find that there are so many plugged in individuals there that will get your story out there. Just by sharing certain things on LinkedIn, it's helped my personal brand, where Fast Company said, hey, we want to talk to you about something. CNNBC, hey, we have a question. You posted something a little provocative about social. Can you tell us about that? There's interviewers there who want your point of view. So I'm trying to think of what I saw. If wellness, right? If someone's in the wellness space and they're sharing facts about the wellness industry and maybe their perspective, or maybe they have a product or what it did and how this did that, people are hungry for knowledge there. And you have the potential to really just shift the landscape. So let's say you do want to be successful on LinkedIn. First, take a screenshot, of like this template. I think it's just a great format because one thing about LinkedIn is different than other channels. Um, the same way as like on TikTok, right? I gotta be short, I gotta grab them with a hook. Instagram, I got a carousel. Like we adapt ourselves for different channels. So for LinkedIn, I just want to hit them with some facts. I want to grab their attention. I want my writing to be quippy, but it doesn't need to be paragraph upon paragraphs. Um, so here's just some quick tips, right? I want you to focus on an engaging hook. I want you to provide immense value. I want you to prioritize building your audience before you focus on monetizing. I want you to find those sweet spots of like when you post, because it is a professional platform and still deemed as such, right? People can be looking at it before they start work. People look at it in the middle of the day. The algorithm still like that old school Facebook algorithm where it says, hey, Asia like this, you might like this also. Hey, your friend comments on this, you might like this also. So the reach is unlimited. And you still get so much reach there versus other channels. Like I said, it's going to be a heavy emphasis on social media. That's where I grew up. And last point, you can also engage with other people's posts. Let's say you don't want to post on LinkedIn, but you know what? I'm in the marketing space. Let me just like comment on like 3 marketers posts a day, add in my insight. That's a good point. Can you expand on this? People will then come to you and find you. That's a hidden gem a lot of people don't think about. But some general social media best practices if you want to start building your personal brand. Consistency is key. That does not mean you need to post daily. I'm saying it again. You do not need to post daily. I do not post daily. When I started, like I said, 2 to 3 times a week. That's super manageable. I'm going to get into a framework down the line. I already wrote here on number 3, but like 2 to 3 times a week. Just focus on that. Once you see the results and the fruits of your labor, I'm like, wow, 2 to 3 times a week produce this. You're going to have to, you will naturally invest more time. You will naturally find fulfillment. You will naturally do more. But once you see the benefits of it, you know, it's crazy. Only share content that aligns with your personal and professional goals. Um, this is this is a big one because I do think people get it confused when I want to build a personal brand, but I still want to do other things. I will say, I think it's very helpful if your goal is to build a personal brand that you start to curate, your content a little bit because it's about building that reputation, managing that reputation. You know, they're still close friends. Don't worry. Instagram just introduced close friends on the feed, right? So you can still be you, but if you're like, you know what, this year, 2024, I'm going to invest in my personal brand. I'm going to really lock in. Just start curating your content that like empowers that blank that you wrote in the beginning, right? If it is, I want to be known for healthy eating. I want to be known for marketing. I want to be known for this. Make sure that, you know what, I'm consistently hitting them with these strategies. And again, alternate, right? Don't be a one-trick pony. You want to make sure you're alternating and building recognition. I don't just speak about financial literacy. I speak on investing. I speak on tax law. I speak on tips for saving money. All these things are just going to keep building up your overall reputation. And this is the big one because I struggle with this, right? I'm working, in these big companies at the time. People come after me, saw your LinkedIn posts, oh, I saw you posting, right? And it's something that like, I get it. Embrace the cringe. Your bills only have your name on it. Truly, right? This job can let you go, and that's the reality. Um, I don't want you to be nervous. I don't want you to be scared. I don't want you to be hesitant about doing something that benefits your future. Let those coworkers see your posts. It wasn't about them. I listened to a podcast. Oh, that's where I got the idea. Hey, do you? Do you? Uh, um, let's talk about how you automate it, because now this is a big thing, right? I don't want you to think, cool, 2024, I'm going to invest in my personal brand, and now it's going to eat up all my time. Mm-mm. We're gonna break it down. So number three, how do you execute? This is the process. First, I want you to spend a minimum, keyword minimum, of 2 hours per week increasing your knowledge. Why do you say that, right? I think we need to feed our creativity at all times. If I'm going to pour out, I got to pour in. It could be a book. I could be working to a podcast. I could be watching videos. I could be having conversations with people. I could be reading news. But before I start to give people advice on health and wellness, on marketing, on the food industry, whatever it is for you, I love that input output, right? Make sure I'm pouring into myself a minimum of 2 weeks. Next, I'm now going to dedicate only 2 hours per week creating content. That's it. 2 hours per week creating content. Once I have all that knowledge, and this thing I actually do in real life, I use Notion for everything in my life. As I listen to podcasts, I'm like, ooh, let me write that down. Some of your questions might be a post. I'm like, ooh, that's a good one. They probably ain't the only one who thought that. Let me write that down. Like, I'm always just thinking about things to speak on when you're building a personal brand. So if you have clients who are asking you questions, right, use your clients' FAQs as like a list of content you're going to hit. Let's say you're a personal trainer. My shoulder always hurts. All right, I got to make content about how to not hurt your shoulder working out. I struggle to be consistent. All right, let me make a post about like 5 tips to be consistent. I struggle to eat right. All right, let me make an Instagram story about a grocery list, how we can help them. Like you figure out what are those things I can just easily make content about. And I wrote down here content batching. That is when you make content all at once. So literally on Saturday, I have a 2 hour block and I sit down, I cool, time to write it out. Let me use Canva, let me use Notion, ChatGPT, give me ideas. This ain't sounding right. Help me out here. Like whatever you gotta do, 2 hours making content. And then the last block, now you can spend 1 hour scheduling that content. I'm very transparent about this. When you see Brandon post at 8:30 on LinkedIn, best believe I didn't hit the publish button. I'm in the gym. Sometimes I'm resting, if I'm being honest. Sometimes I'm making breakfast, but I schedule ahead. That way I create more free time for myself. Because ultimately, I don't want you to get so consumed with, I got to build my personal brand. I got to build my personal brand that you neglect other bettering, like other priorities, bettering yourself, whatever it is, truly. You can use, so there's a lot of native tools, right? Instagram, you can natively schedule content within Instagram. So then LinkedIn, they have a clock in like the bottom corner. If you enable creator mode, you can just schedule content. I've used Later in the past. I think they have like a free version where I get maybe like 15 posts a month. For like $20 a month, I get 30 per platform. I was like, cool, I'm just gonna use this, schedule content, set it and forget it. Boom. And that's really it. You set it, you forget it, you get back to your life. That's it. 2 weeks. If I'm posting 2 times a week, and within that 2 hour block, I make 10 posts. Essentially, that buys me at least 2 weeks. That can buy me 3 weeks, technically. Like I can, wherever that framework is for you. If I set 2 hours aside right now, I just bought myself 2 weeks. And if you're a business owner, time is money, right? So cool. I'm gonna do all this. If you're a 9 to 5er, right? I'm gonna do all this and get back to my task. I just want you guys to not be so consumed by this. Now, repeat this as often as you can, because consistency is the secret sauce. It'll beat them out every time. I'm just going to plan ahead. I'm going to use those scheduling tools. If you can, some of you might have a team. I'm gonna hire help if it's like too much. Transparently, ooh, I hate editing videos sometimes. CapCut makes it easy, but man, it's time consuming. Can I, if it's worth my time, let me see if someone can like edit this for me real quick. And also give yourself grace. There's been some weeks when I said, you know what, I'm tapped. I have nothing to talk about. I have not been sleeping like I should be. Don't force it. Do not force it. Because if you just intake knowledge, I plan ahead, I schedule it out, set it, forget it, I get back to my life, it makes this a lot more sustainable. Because oftentimes when we want to go towards a goal, we feel like I gotta do 17 things at once. Nah. If you already listen to podcasts, you already watch YouTube, you already watch TikTok, there's your 2 hours right there. Now I'm just gonna write some things out. Maybe I use that time to write a newsletter about health and wellness. That's my time. I'm gonna schedule it. You know what? Let me break this out. Part one, part two. I just bought myself 2 pieces of content. That's like another 2 weeks. Whatever that is for you, you just figure that out, and it makes things a lot more easier. I think I came up right at 45 seconds, which is 45 minutes, which is dope.
You did.
Um,
You're doing great.
that was awesome. I don't know if we have time for questions. You let me know.
We do have 2 questions. So
Okay.
um, I'll definitely take those because one of them I definitely want to send back in the newsletter once we finish. But ladies, please scan this QR code away. I can also drop Brandon's LinkedIn and his Instagram links for you to just quickly link through. But thank you so much.
No
And something
worries.
that I just want to like touch on is, ladies, remember yesterday when Andrea was saying, when is it time to hire help? Write out a list of everything you need to do, when it needs to be done. If you're noticing that things need to be done at the exact same time, that might be the time to hire help. And I saw somebody ask, when do you know if it's time to delegate? But I think that using
Ooh.
Andrea's method along with what Brandon has recommended here, and don't think that you have to go to Indeed or, LinkedIn and put out a job that you're hiring and have, an annual salary for somebody. You can find a la carte help. Um, things like events like this, you could just write, I need help with social media. You don't know if somebody does that as a side gig and would like to collaborate with you. You can use websites like Fiverr. You can find affordable help. So even if it's just like a little thing like here and there, definitely do. But, the one thing that I really want you all to remember from this, and it's something that I always say, is that your brand is your commitment to consistency. That is whether it is intentional or unintentional. So I think that this is something that you can all take back. And I know you guys know I love the polls. So I wanted to know how many of you have, and while you're all dropping all of your responses in, I will ask Brandon some questions. So how many of you have headshots? That's something that I would love to know.
Mm.
Okay, Brandon, what if your topics don't relate well or are widely different? For example, I run a nonprofit that supports young Black women with professional development. Love that. But I'm also a professional dancer. I haven't been able to find the overlap.
Mm. Great question. What I would suggest there, and honestly, I'm in the same boat as you. Um, I work with Gymshark. That has nothing to do with marketing, right? I did a partnership with the General Auto Insurance. That has nothing to do with marketing. What I've tried to do there is either create different channels where I can speak to different things specifically, or have, my LinkedIn, that's where I'm going to do marketing. If you look at my TikTok, I don't really do marketing content on TikTok. I just don't do the writing head thing. I like writing it out. So you can also just cater your content to different kind of channels. But again, I do think you can give yourself that grace to be multifaceted. Um, there's a I'm hesitant to call him a creator because he is a founder and a CEO of a company, but he has a clothing brand in the UK. Um, in the past recent months, he's gotten so into fitness. that he started doing run clubs just with his friends. Like he's posting about running all the time, training for marathons all the time, to the point where he's built up such a community of runners. And again, his clothing brand has nothing to do with that. Um, Eventually it just expanded to, maybe I need to do this over here too. Like their clothing brand started doing running gear and it blew up. Um, but you investing in the arts and then you also helping young girls with like their professional development as a nonprofit, I do think using that framework, the things I do over here can also bring visibility over here. So you can also just talk about how you do your nonprofit, share content around your nonprofit, but you are multifaceted. So give yourself that grace.
And another thing with that is that also, if you have trouble finding where you can link the two, this is where I say bring in Chat GPT. You can tell Chat GPT, I run a nonprofit that supports young Black women with professional development. I am also a professional dancer. How can I create content to post 2 times a week on Instagram? And it'll help you kind of like fuse that. So you don't have to use like exactly what it says, but it'll give you an idea of how you can bridge the two. And then also you might even get to a point where people just follow you because they're like, how does she do it all? I need to know more about this. Sometimes they end up just liking you and that's what they
For
follow you.
real.
And so, I mean, you can lean into that, but find your flow. And like Brandon said, like definitely give yourself grace. Okay, I want to put another poll out. And then I'll ask you the second question and then I will, how do we go back? Here we go. Okay, I want to know, have you developed your LinkedIn profile? So please drop your responses in the polls. And in the meantime, Brandon, what
Mhm.
podcast do you enjoy personally? And also,
Ooh,
even while you're thinking of your response, I love what you think you put something on LinkedIn about how you got YouTube Premium and you also use that for learning.
I
So
do.
while you do the podcast piece, please also let us know like what content you watch on YouTube that justifies that $13 a month.
Oh, yeah, it's so crazy. I got that question so much too. Like, why are you paying for YouTube Premium? Um, I started paying for YouTube Premium because I was like, you know what? If I pay for Netflix, and sometimes you go on there, you're like, I don't want to watch none of this. Um, I felt like, YouTube, at least I'm getting something from it, right? I'm walking away smarter. I'm walking away feeling better about myself. And whether I can work to a podcast or a video about financial literacy. Literally, last year, I think one of the contributing factors to me being financially free and me doing a lot of these other partnerships, I started just watching CEOs. I watched, I think Ali Abdal is a great, he's a YouTuber, but he also has a podcast, great one. Andrew Huberman, I love listening to like his podcast. I'm just like looking at my phone to figure out like other podcasts to recommend. I mean, you'll be surprised. Like I listen to podcasts around comedy. Like not everything's is going to ladder up to like that main goal that I listen to. Um, I like Money Makers Conversations. Diary of a CEO. Ooh, that's a good one. Um, I also listen to, I'm like scrolling right now because I do social media. There's like a lot of social media podcasts in here. The social media marketing, the marketing millennials, net worth and chill. That's actually Vivian's podcast, Your Rich BFF. I actually love the way she breaks down information. Um, Bedro Koulian, there's Black Tech, Green Money. I have literally just like a sea of podcasts and I listen to them like 2x speed or like 1.5 as I work. So like that's just how like you kind of feed yourself information organically.
I love that. Okay, guys, I'm dropping one last poll for you. Is your personal brand or developing your socials on your goals for 2024? And with that, Brandon, thank you so much for joining us.
No worries.
I know I'm already gonna start getting emails like, is there a recording? Yes, everybody, there will be a recording. I will send it out to you next week as soon as, I add a nice intro and outro. Marketing girl, I have to make it cute for you. But
Love it.
Brandon, thank you so much for coming. Guys, please do connect with him on socials like LinkedIn, Instagram, and Brandon, if you don't want them connecting with you on socials, I apologize, but they're going to come by the masses now. So,
It's all good. No, I appreciate this so much. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
you take care. And guys, if you had any other questions for Brandon, you can just drop them into the Q&A and I will get responses for you offline and then send it to you via email.